welcome again, everybody. We've got a really good show tonight, Gareth, haven't we? Let everybody know who we've got on.
Oh, absolutely. I tell you, I'm really looking forward to having a chat with these two guys. I've known them for the best part of 15 years. We've got Adam Ben Smith, who I'm really looking forward to getting into his brain because that bloke has been so dominant over the last few years on the Scottish tour. Really looking forward to talking to him and just seeing how his life's going because I've been off the scene for a while, as you know. And then also we've got Phil Burford. Phil's just... To me, if I was to ever have a son, well, I've got a son, but if I was to have a doctor son, it'd be Phil Burford. I love that boy and always have done. We've got these two guys on the show, so really looking forward to diving into what they've been up to.
Right, well,
You might not want me as a dad, so it don't really matter, does it?
We'll get them in. Guys, here they are, Adam and Ben Smith, Phil Miles Burford, as he likes to call himself sometimes. How are you guys? Are you all right?
Good, yeah, good. How are you?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, all good, mate.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant to have you guys on. I mean, now, kicking things off, tell us a little bit about, I mean, I didn't realise you pair were a bit of an item somewhat. I don't know. I mean, you've been hanging around a lot, going up these tours, up McGoldrick's of all places. How long have you been? I didn't realise you guys followed each other around a bit like that. I mean, has that always been a thing, or has that been like in recent years you've just hooked up, played together, and is it? I don't know. I mean, enlighten me a little bit on that one, guys.
Phil?
I was got him.
Oh, they're off already.
Yeah, it started already.
I met Phil about 18 years ago on the beach at PA, and he was the closest player to where I lived at the time and still live, which is Sunderland. He lives about 25 minutes from me, but he was so young, unapproachable. His mum and dad are there. So as he got a couple of years older, and obviously we played a local comp together, and then eventually he came up to mine. Michael Stead, a friend of Phil's at the time, brought him up to my house, and we had a practice session together. And since then, we exchanged numbers and kept in touch. But that was many, many years ago. And then we started travelling together to keep the costs down. And then I ended up getting involved in helping Phil in a few other areas with like his job and stuff like that. So we've been really close for like 15, 17, 18 years. But now we travel together, room together, and we, it works. It works. It's just a good dynamic between us, He's a great player. I'm not. Yin and yang.
Yeah, I like that.
He's modest, Adam. I like the way you said that. But with that in mind, I mean, you've had some great results up that McGoldrick's tour in recent months, last year or so.
Well, you've been the dominant force up there, Adam.
Well, do you know what? The table behind me is the answer why. I've got the table installed a couple of years ago, and that's changed my game, to be honest with you. It slowed us down a little bit. I used to play really quick, throw a lot of errors in. I still make errors, obviously, but when you play on a table like this, as your home table, it does not dial you in and sharpen your game up. And that's probably the main reason I've had some good results. I've always been able to pot a few balls and stuff, but the difference for me is being able to practice on that daily. And then when you go to a normal table, normal play conditions, even if it's like 4.25-inch pockets, feel like I'm going to be in stroke pretty quickly. And the tour in Scotland is probably the saviour for anybody playing American pool, because when GB9 finished, there was pretty much nothing to play in. And then Paul Corrigan at McGoldrick's, who's running a great show up there, got a fantastic club. Only got I think 7 or 8 tables, but they're all beautiful. Rassons, shark grey, lighting, balls, everything. The staff's fantastic. And me and Phil, I not speak for Phil, but I know this is true, we almost treat that like our home venue. You go there, everybody knows your name, you walk in there, you get a lovely warm welcome and a good reception. It's just a real home from home for us. The other tour that I've had some good results on is Vincent Bermendi's tour, the Wallace Quinn. They play out of the Ballroom in Edinburgh. Another lovely club. It's not on the level of McGoldrick's, but it's pretty good. And yeah, I'm practicing on that, but I'm playing, especially on the Wallace Quinn, I'm playing on really old school tables, the old big bag, slow cloths. Yeah.
What stands out for that table? You mentioned your table there, Adam, that's brought you on in heaps and bounds. What's the significance of what's going on your table to say that?
It's 3.65 inches pockets. and that's not like, well, that's not pulling your leg. That is the actual measurement. And I've had that for nearly 2 years. So if you can run 3 or 4 racks in a row and not maybe miss 1 or 2 balls in a race to 9 on that table, you can play any tournament against any player. It gives you so much confidence. That's the main reason. It's just brutal, but it's great at the same time. It's like a poison challenge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say, jumping in. Let me jump in there. Sorry, Adam. I just want to point out for anyone watching. That is your table, your room. It's not a virtual background, guys. That is Adam's room for anybody watching, and it's amazing.
For anybody who cares or is interested, that table originated through Pat Holtz. He bought that table in 2006 or 2005, which is actually stamped on the underside of the table to practice at home for the IPT. When the IPT launched, he bought that table to practice on the same equipment. The IPT folded, obviously. It then went into the hands of Carl Boyes. Then it went into the hands of Elliot Sanderson in Doncaster. He shared it with little Julian Roper. And then I moved into this house. It had a big extension on. I was going to get a table. That table became available, and it was a no-brainer. But obviously, I had a plan. I had a bit of a master plan in my head of what to do to it. Because even the peg, they're pretty tight-ish. You know, they play pretty good. But I wanted to really drill it down to make it a brutal table. Because it doesn't matter how tight the pockets are. If you're at home in your pajamas with a beer in your hand, you don't really miss anyway. So you may as well not miss on a table like that, as opposed to
of course,
table with 4.5-inch pads. So that's a story.
Yeah, wow.
I nicked it as well, and it's a great table. Phil's had many sets on there. It's a hell of a table. It was. He made us buy the table because he played when he went to the US. He spent 90% of his time on diamond, and I was really close to buying a Rasson, really close. And my final thing was when he said, "You don't know what the Rasson's going to be like in 20 years." Well, you do with those. They play exactly the same no matter what. They're like an absolute tank. So I went for that.
Wow, good on you.
Yeah,
brilliant. Well, what I'd like to know is, you said Phil's had many games on it with you. Who's got the edge out of you pair when you're playing on that table? That's what I want to
know. I'll let Phil answer that.
To be honest, I don't think. I hate to say it, but I don't think there is. I honestly don't. I think we're evenly matched because Adam plays on it all the time, so he's got the home advantage. And I hit a lot of balls in that table, expecting them to go in, and they don't.
Right.
So I'll walk around for the next shot, and the ball's hung. I don't realise, and Adam will then get me to sit down and then put them all. So that annoys me. But obviously, it is the perfect test. I told him at the table. I'm really pleased that he did. I don't get up to Adams as much as I'd love to. But just I've got a lot on. I've got a lot with family and work and stuff, so I can't get the time.
It's a fair
Give us a bit about your background, Phil. Give us a bit about your background, how you come about playing pool and where it all started for you.
So I'll start with me when I first picked a cue up when I was about 7 or 8. Went down to local Riley's. My dad became night manager there. And at the time, I got into playing American pool instead of snooker because there was 3 tournaments a week. There was a junior tournament on a Sunday, there was a Wednesday night 9-ball tournament, and there was an American 8-ball tournament on a Saturday. So I got to the point where I started winning the junior comps. So my second week, I won that at 7 or 8 year old. Started winning that regularly, and making the first couple. They said, "Oh, I have to win a queue," because they couldn't give prize money because of kids event. So I went, "Okay, that's fine." So 3 or 4 queues later, I'm like, "Well, now what? I've got too many queues." So then they started giving me vouchers, and then I had loads of money behind the bar. So I was like, "Well, now what?" So then they started buying me stuff like trainers and stuff, and then I ended up just getting the money. So I won it 50 weeks in a row. So the little demented kids, and this was under 16s. So obviously, when I was winning the Sunday tournaments. Then they let me go into the Saturday adult tournament. So I started winning that when I was maybe 8 or 9. Started winning that, so that was money. So I would get maybe 50, 100 quid. Then it would be on the Wednesday night, because it was Rise, they didn't let me in, then they started letting me in. And I used to win that quite often. So I ended up, I was making sort of anywhere between 150 and 200 pounds a week as like a 10-year-old.
Well, 8 years old.
I thought, this is pretty, this is all right. So.
Hit that now.
I know, exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
It's more than one now. It's a shame Riley's closed down. So then the BBBA came to Dalton Riley's, and I remember Raj Hundal won the event. And at the time, Raj was one of the best in the UK, and he obviously the way that he presents himself and the way that he walked around the table and played, it was attractive. And I thought, oh, do you know what? This game could be something that I really want to do. So started getting better and better. Then there was at that BBBA event, there was a flyer for a junior tour. So they were going to start a BBBA junior tour. So I thought, oh well, I'll go to the Northern Regional Championships and see how I get on. Just see what the standard's like. Anyway, I went over, played, and I won that. So I was like, oh, that's all right. So then there was a Midlands and there was a Southern. So then they said to me, I got free entry into the British Championships in Stafford, Riley's. So I said, oh, well, I'll have a go, see how I get on. So I went down, ended up winning it. So I think 14, I was British champion, juniors, got me into the European Championships. So that's when I started to go to the European Championships, went to the European Championships for 4 years with the British team. Some top players, Tony Burton, Matt Lawrenson, Tom Ainsworth-Smith, some real top players.
From the past.
I know. So then they came, I went with them, ended up winning the European Championships when I was 18, and got me to the World Championships where I finished second to Ruslan Chinov in the final. That was in Nicaragua. So, and then obviously I met yourself, Gareth, who we then had a couple of seasons on the Euro Tour. I played 2.5 years on Euro Tour. Did pretty well. Got third was my highest ranking on the Euro Tour, so in 2 years, which was pretty good. And then I moved to America and played out there. And I watched last week's podcast with Darren Appleton, and he was talking about how he learnt his trade when he went to the Philippines. And I did a similar thing in America. I went over there, I played a lot of one pocket, played a lot of bank pool, and that's where I really felt like I went to the next level, to a point where I was able to compete in these big events and have a chance of winning. So yeah, then from there, I lived in America for 2 years, played sort of all GB9s and UK number one. So I ended up having quite a lot of success. And then somehow it just fizzled out in regards to life. Life just got in.
Takes over.
Yeah, it did a little bit. So Adam helped me with a job. I went to university for, and I was doing mechanical engineering. And I was.
What is this when you came back?
I was skin. So this was So I did my A levels and stuff whilst I was flying around doing the tournaments and in and out. I was doing essays on flights and stuff so I got my A levels, and then I thought I'll go and do your university. So I went and did mechanical engineering. Maths, physics, chemistry wasn't ideal. Got a bit boring, and I was skinned. I was just and to be fair, Adam says to me, he went, "Look, you really, you look like you're just not very happy." So he said, "Why don't you come and work in the car industry and sell cars and earn some good money and be able to afford and do what you want to do?" So that's what I did. So I went, and 10 years later, I've been in the car industry for nearly 10 years. And now I start a new job tomorrow, in fact, at Honda as a sales manager. So, so yeah, it's been quite a roller coaster. But I literally switched off from playing pool for 5 years, maybe, where I didn't pick my cue up and just didn't play really any events at all. And then again, Adam's room sort of half got me back into it. Adam's been playing a lot, getting some success, and I thought, well, I went over, played a few games on his table, and again, I think it was the table that sort of got me back, my interest back, and put my ears up a little bit again, because it just acquainted me and got me the feeling of being in America again and playing on that equipment. It just sort of brought back memories. And to be fair, I've probably played 15 sessions on Adam's table, and he's had it for 2.5 years, so it's not a lot, but and it's not as much as I'd love to be honest. I would love to go up there 3 or 4 times a week, but I've now got a wife, 2 kids, house, dog. It's just, life's just.
Yeah, you fuck when you get a cat, mate. That's when that's when it's all over.
How far away do you guys live from each other? Just out of interest, is it
35 minutes?
5 minutes.
35 minutes.
Oh, 35 minutes. I was going to say, I mean, so it's not that far then, really, but I guess life really has taken. I mean, if you can't, you get over to playing. But with what you were just saying there about, getting back at, I mean, have you got that passion back in now to drive on and push on to maybe get back to that way to enter some more of these bigger events? Obviously, with Matchroom doing what they're doing, maybe GB9 again could be starting up again. I mean, have you got that drive to push on to play in these events again to get back to that level? I mean, you're probably playing at that level now again. I mean, you've been having some good results again lately, but is that the plan now?
Yeah, well, I think it's a combination of both. I've seen him get his table, played a little bit. I don't play between events at the moment. I haven't got anywhere to practice. Adams is the closest place, but again, I feel like when I go up to Adams, I have to make a full night of it to make it worthwhile. When I go up there, by the time, even if I do go up there, by the time we've had a little chat, we've had some food, I've got to catch up with Claire and Adam, with Adam's missus, who's a lovely woman. We have a chat. Before you know it, it's a couple of hours, and we have a couple of sets, and so we go back. So I have a log cabin on order, which is coming in the morning. So that's getting built, and I'm going to put a table in.
Well, what table are you having though? That's the question. I mean,
still up
Adam's table's not going to go missing overnight, is it?
No, I don't think I'll be able to get that out. He's on it more than anything.
So what are you thinking then, Phil? What are you getting?
I don't know if there's any table sponsors out there. Hit me up, but
yeah, absolutely. Yes. Well, Damien Massey got. I think he got a Rasson. I think recently, or the last few years, he approached him and they asked him, and they sent him over a free table. So, Phil, you never know, mate. But I've just got, before we move on, I've got to ask Adam the same question. Adam, what's your background in the Q Sports, mate? How did you come about? Because I'm not going to sit here blowing smoke up your ass, but you are one phenomenal player, mate. Is that a snooker background?
That's very kind of you, Gareth. There's a lot of people who disagree with that. Phil's woman.
Yeah.
So, I'll tell you a very short story. This is why that's there.
You tell me your story, Adam, and then I'm going to tell you a story afterwards as well.
Okay. I was 5 years old, and I went to Heworth Social Club in Gateshead with my uncle, who sadly's passed away now. And he used to play snooker at a very, very good level, like a county level. There was 2 tables in there. I was 5 years old, and I used to go in. And when the lights went down, when the game was over, he used to let us walk up to the table and chuck the balls into the pockets with my hands. And I died and gone to heaven. It was the colours, and it was the actual act of watching them go in the pockets. And I was a little bit smitten with the game, but that was 5 years old. So those thoughts were shelved for a few years. And then at 9 years old, my dad bought a car dealership. And upstairs in the car dealership was the parts department, like a mezzanine floor. And it was huge, way, way bigger than he needed. We went and bought, when I was 9 years old, this has nothing to do with me, he bought this for him and his brother. If it was a downtime, some of the staff could go up, have some lunch and have a knock. He bought an 8-foot slate bed snooker table.
Oh, lovely.
That sat in the parts department. My mum used to be obviously sick of me, dropped me off at Dad's place. I used to run upstairs and obviously have a bit bash. And I actually pretty much taught myself how to play. And I spent hours up there, hours after school. I got to 11 years old. He moved premises. The new premise didn't have enough space for the table. So I came home from school one day and there was an 8-foot slate bed table in our garage. I walked in with the blindfold on. You're worrying about that? Honestly, I was just like, oh my God.
Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely.
Spent probably the next 5 years of my life, including January, December, November, seeing my own breath. There was no heaters. Just potting ball after ball. Anybody who came in the house to see me, mum and dad, play one game. Just come on, one game, one frame. I'll give you 20 starts. It was like ridiculous. Then the dealership my dad bought next had a snooker club 50 yards opposite in Roper in Sunderland. So I started to play the big game on the 12-foot table. Loved it. Try to keep it short. Loved the game. Had a few big breaks. Had a couple of century breaks. Regular 60, 70, 80 break builder. But I'm 13-year-old, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Had a infection for 2 weeks. Went to the doctors. He said, "Do you spend any time in any smoky environments?" And my mum went, "He does, actually. He does, yeah." We're talking about 1990 here, 1991.
Yeah.
So he said, "Have 2 weeks out of the smoky environment." I had 2 weeks out. Then we had a 2-week holiday. So that was 4 weeks without hitting a snooker ball. And I never went back for 15 years. I never touched the cue. Honestly, I never touched the cue until a friend of a friend met for a pint after work in a club called Riley's in Sunderland. And I'd never heard of the club. We went in, it was a purple cloth, it was bags bigger than your head. And it was weird. I played 15 years. But I thought it was quite funny, the fact that you could fudge the ball down the rail, still went in. And had the break pretty good. And I thought, I felt all right, actually. It was a 9-ball league, started a couple of weeks later. I put my name in the hat, joined a couple of guys. And then it sort of went on from there. Met people like Chris Cowie, who was probably the best player in the club at the time. Chris Robson, who was probably equally the best player in the club at the time. And I learned a bit off them, ordered a proper cue, ended up going to a BPP event, met Phil, had some decent results and incrementally got better over the years and learned the game after watching some of the top guys showed us what it's meant to look like. Certain players I watched where they just did it a different way. I can pop balls off a lampshade, but it's not about that. It's the finer nuances of the game. The best player I ever saw back in the day, to learn off, I'm talking about, was Tommy Donlan for me. Tommy Donlan was the best. If you'd never hit a ball before on an American table and you want to watch somebody play the game correctly, for me, he was the best player. Even though he didn't win everything, and Darryl and Raj and Imran, and something about the way he played. It just never straight on a ball, always spinning it round. It was just class to watch. I learned a lot off him.
He's a good player, Tommy Donlan. Yeah, is he still involved in it, Adam?
And then got better and better, and then GB9 got launched, had a few good results, had a few Roby results. Phil was flying. I was his team's mate, hot chocolate, his taxi service, he was always smashing them in, doing really, really well. And I was sort of like a really, really ugly sister of that duo. I've got slightly better look over the years where I can actually make two together. But yeah, it's I love the game.
Great story that was. I love the bit about the
great stories there,
one game. I'll do that. It sounded like Tom Cruise in the colour. Come on, just one game. I'll spot you the five. Saying like that, you're getting people to play. But speaking of stories, I said I've got one. I can remember meeting you, Adam. It was on a BPPA. I can't remember. I was trying to find the result. It was a long time ago.
Adam, I know the story, and it's a classic.
You'll see where I'm going with this in a minute. Go on, Adam.
Before you get into the bones of that story, there's a reason that I'll never forget yourself, Matt, because
Can you remember me playing you?
Yeah, there's a reason why.
Oh, go on.
It was the first time I'd ever played a match to qualify for the Sunday. Where
was it at? Where was that tournament at? I was trying to.
I'd never took part in the tournament on a Sunday. I just stood there with my civvies on, just watching all the real players play.
It was brilliant. I remember because
I finally got through to the match to qualify for the Sunday. I was shaking like a leaf. We played that match.
Was it the last 16 I played you or not, or was it the last 32? Because I think I remember losing to Mike Rogers. I think I beat you 9-6, if I remember.
I lost, but I think I beat you the next time.
I can't remember because the reason I remember the match is because you had your practice before and you're playing, and you said to me, you said, "Do you want to have a knock before?" I just went, "No, we'll go straight into it." And you were like a bit surprised by that. But the best thing about this, and this is where I was going with this actually, is that a little bit of a backstory to that, and Gareth knows this because I told him anyway.
Yeah, great, Phil. This is brilliant.
You got to listen to this. When I can get it going here, I'm just trying to get something out. Yeah, so I'm thinking I'm traveling to the venue on the I don't know whether it was the second day or the first day, and I'm in the taxi, and this guy, I've seen my cues in the car, and he's going, "Oh, you're here for this tournament?" I said, "Yeah. Do you know about it?" He says, "Oh, yeah. I've just dropped another guy off who's got cues," and he was saying, "Yeah, he's a player, and he's a good player and all this, and he fancies his chances." And I said, "Oh, what's he look like?" He says, "Oh, he looked a bit like Antonio Banderas." I say, "What you on about?" I says, "Oh, it's like who are you on about?" And then I got there and I thought, "Wow, is that Adam Smith he's on about there? He's got like the long hair and everything." I was thinking, yeah, I'm thinking it must have been him. So I was like, "Oh, all right, okay." But it was. I mean, look, I can't. Is that you, Adam? There, I don't know.
You know, I really, that's not me. But
is that not you?
I do play in Scotland normally in that outfit.
Well, it's funny you say that actually, because off the back of that, you're on about duos and I mean, I've actually got I think got another picture actually of you pair. When right there. Let me see if I could just get it going here. Oh, wait a minute, I've got another picture for you here. Let me just get this other one up because this one's even better. Look at that one. I mean, that's.
That's going super viral, that one, boys.
And the thing is about that. Look, that 9-ball. Phil's even got the 9-ball out of the other picture in that one there. You must have passed it over to him.
Oh, Phil,
the dynamic
that's
duo.
the first time I've seen this, boys. You boys are in trouble.
but no, I mean, it was a great little true story as well. But yeah, was it Manchester with that tournament? Because I was trying to find the results. What year was that? I mean, it must have been like 2005 or something.
I remember because you had a cue with no wrap, or it was light coloured all the way down.
You're right, and I've still got that cue, right? And I've got it.
Mewtwo on it.
I've still got it at 9712, and I got Simon DeValley to send that cue off to Gus Zambotti in America to put a ringtail lizard wrap on it, and I was without my cue for about 8 months, and I was borrowing a cue, and I just sent my game backwards. But yeah, I mean, I've still got that cue. Yeah, brilliant. But no.
So have you boys met in the Scottish final yet, or anything like that? Like when you travel up, I just recently saw you down in just up in Solihull. So have you got to the later stages and met in the final of anything up in Scotland?
Yeah, we seem to be playing. We seem to play a lot of semi-finals. Have we played a final?
Yeah, I bet you.
Oh, that was...
I like the way you said that.
Yeah, I did. That was about 2 events ago.
What?
It was about 2 events ago.
Oh, was it?
McColdricks, yeah. So
no, it wasn't.
Well, is that the one? Was that the main one at McGoldrick's? The night where you lost to Arcady in that one, Phil?
No, that was. Oh yeah, we played then. We play that. We played then, didn't we? In that event, and was it the qualifier to last 16?
Yeah, not sure.
I think so. Yeah, I lost the final to Arcady. That was the matchroom event.
Yeah, I watched that. That was brutal. I mean, that flew.
Have you not got that shot? I thought you'd have that shot, Matt.
You know what? I could probably dig it up if you want. I can. Yeah, go on. I'll dig that up for everybody.
But I'm not involved in the IT.
If I can, yeah. I'll see if I can dig that up. You boys just carry on for a moment while I just have a look and I'll get.
So Phil, when you was in the States, Phil, was you who was you travelling with? Was you? I know Jason Shaw was out there. Was you?
Yeah, I travelled a lot with Jason. Yeah, I played a lot with Jason, and I travelled a lot with Jeff Conway, who was like a sponsor manager. He lived in New York. So he had a house in New York, a house in North Carolina, and a house in Florida. And we used to just travel to tournaments. We go, right, so we'll set off today. We'll go down the East Coast. We'll go to that tournament, and we'd sort of map it out. And and then we'd stop in North Carolina for 2 or 3 weeks and play some cash games and stuff. And they had a big break and run. I remember it was $1,000 a ball. No, $500 a ball, $500 a ball, 10 ball. And if you broke and ran, you got double money. So and I remember breaking off, made 2 balls off the break, 10 ball, and I banked the one and ran out 10 grand.
Oh, legend.
But yeah, I played a lot of cash games. I played a big tournament, which was like a Derby City kind of tournament, which was in, where was that? Georgia, I think. But it was sort of one pocket, banks, a Bigfoot event, 9 ball. I finished 3rd in the 9 ball. I finished 2nd in the overall, all around. So I finished, I think it was 5th in the 1 pocket, 9th in the banks, 3rd in the 9 ball, and 3rd at the Bigfoot. So
oh wow!
That was a good event. Been to Vegas a few times to play. I finished 9th to 11th in the US Open one year, which was a good result. That was when it was before Matchroom got hold of it, and it was 500 plus players. The year Darren won it, actually. It was I can't remember if it was the first or second year Darren won it, but I think it might have been the 2nd year. But yeah, that was a good event. So I played a lot in America. I did a lot of traveling, and I enjoyed it. I loved being out there. And like I say, I felt like that's where I really learnt my trade and my game from before I left to having a couple of years out there. What I learned and the player that I came back as was far superior.
Just when you were saying about the
guys?
Go on.
Sorry, go on, man.
I was just saying about when Phil was saying about who's playing. I was trying to find that video. I can't find it straight away. But you were saying about the kind of bonus ball there. You banked X amount of money. I can remember the one at the GB 9 ball tour a couple of years back. He's laughing. He knows what I'm telling you. It was that was up to some decent wedge, and it was that was 10 ball as well, I think, wasn't it? And you got right down to the last. There was 3 balls left, I think, or 2 balls left, and you could have took about 800 quid or something. And you just went full ball for the whole clearance or something. And I remember you just jawed it or something, and everyone was like, "What?"
Yeah,
can you remember that?
It was really easy. Yeah, it was quite an easy shot as well. But the reason why I remember that is because I think it was Simon Gardner's ticket that actually got drawn out. And he said, "We'll go halves. You play you break, and you do the run out, and we'll just go halves." So obviously, I've broke off. I've potted 1 through 7. I've got the 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'm like, I should never miss it, but it is missable. But I should never ever miss it. And he's like half of me going, "Oh, just take the money," but you're always taking that on. Always taking on. Obviously, I've just took me out of it.
Yeah, I remember it was. There was a few people watching on that one.
There was.
Yeah,
that was when GB9 was really good. Like, I really enjoyed GB9 at that time. When me and Adam have spoke about it numerous times, but when I beat Ralph Suka in the final, that event was one of the best events I've ever played in. When the main final was on the Saturday night. The format was great. They had local music. It was a proper event, and there was a big crowd for the final because everyone was around. I mean, I've played GB9 finals when there's literally like the referee and the 2 players, and Adam's like, "Oh, that's it." Like literally, that's it.
That's the sad part of the pool, isn't it?
It is, and the thing is that we're all guilty of it. As soon as you get knocked out, you're on the road. It's just part of it. So the format then was so good because you had the main final, and you had people watching it. Everybody would be there, unless they went out for some food.
Yeah.
So you got.
No, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Go again, Phil. So I lost you on. You said you had the main final.
Yeah, so on the main final, when it was on the Saturday night, everyone would hang around. You'd have you'd have a big crowd. People would have a couple of drinks and watch. A good atmosphere, and you really felt like you were in a final of a main event. But with the format now, hopefully they do something with the format. That's what I'd like to see next year with GB9. A freshen up, a restart, a reset. And
well, went on the webpage earlier today when I was trying to dig out some stats or something, but I noticed that they were actually inviting people to register now for other interest, I think, in next year's tour. So I mean, it looks like it's going on again. So we all hope
Adam, did you play all the GB9s?
Yeah, I played in the first event, and then I had a 2-year break about 3 or 4 years ago for various reasons. And then I came back on about 3 years ago, I think. And then I came back on, and then it sort of coincided with getting the table. And then I started to win a lot of matches, getting to, the money end, the business end of the tournaments. I didn't manage to win a main event, but I did everything but, Hill with Mark, 11-10. Lost in semis to Imran and Mark. I was knocking on the door. We were talking about this yesterday, actually. I felt probably had a main event win in me, and then GB9 obviously stopped. So, I mean, I think the last season I played, I think I ran the most racks, had the highest rack break and run percentage, and was ranked number 3, and behind Mark and Imran. And I've got no axe to grind with that. I mean, the 2 class players,
So going on to the Saturday night that Phil was just talking about, what was the format? That sounds like a brilliant format that was Phil was saying when they used to play on a Saturday night. Yeah. Why did it change?
That Saturday night final used to be obviously a lot of games taking place Friday, Saturday afternoon, and then Saturday night, while the Saturday main event final was on, if I remember rightly, if you hadn't got the business end of the main event, your first rounds of the other tournament were already bubbling on Saturday night, but the main event will be Saturday night. So everybody's going to play on Sunday no matter what, pretty much.
Yeah.
So they're not going to go home, and they're not going to stand in the bar and talk shit. They'd rather go in the main arena and watch a proper final, hopefully with 2 proper players. And like Phil says, the last main event final for GB9 was me and Mark. 11-10 to Mark, and I should have beat him, but I didn't anyway. That's by the by. There was probably 6, 7, 8 people watching that match, where what Phil's talking about, you'd have 80, 90, 100, 120 people, which doesn't sound a lot, but in quite a small space on Saturday night, quite a good atmosphere, They definitely need to revisit that if they're going to rejig it.
Yeah. Oh wow!
One of the other things I was going to, one of the things I was going to say actually. I mean, it's for any player, and we've all felt this before. I mean, at some point in your playing days, I mean, anytime you want to think you're going to be able to win a tournament, otherwise, what's the point of going in a tournament? I know people enjoy it, but at some point in your days when you're playing, you've got to be able to cross the line of saying, well, this is it. I feel like I'm capable 100% of winning this tournament, and then a lot of it is a mental thing, and I've worked on that on my own game in recent months, and it's really helped me to have that confidence to win matches no matter who you're playing. But it's a big thing. But is that something you've tried to focus on, or when you're playing? Because I've got my own table as well. But one of the things I always struggle with is I get a bit bored when I'm just playing on my own. Do you do many drills or things like that, or are you more interested in like playing Phil or other people, or are you trying to focus on the mental game approach a bit more? I mean, what do you think it's been in your game that's helped you to get to where you are now? Because, like say, in recent years, months, you've seen some really good results. I mean, what would you attribute that to? Do you think in your mind?
Being able to keep a little bit of composure and keep my head. So you like we were chatting about this yesterday. So the race to 9, 6-all, 7-6. There's got a business end where one mistake might cost you the set. It's just having that little pregnant pause, 30-second reset to make sure that you put a good stroke on it. For years, I didn't do that. And I'm talking for years. Phil, I can't remember Phil not doing that actually. Throws the odd quick one in, but pretty much back in the day to do that. But I was serious for that. you could actually, it was like a head of steam. So if I was clearing the table, I was actually getting quicker the more balls I potted. So by the time you got the money ball or the key positional shot, I was so into it that it would go off like a gun in my hand. I've sort of mastered that a little bit. I still throw the odd one in, but I'm pretty good at sort of thinking this is probably the key shot and just parking the bus for 10 seconds, 15 seconds. And that makes a massive difference to me. So if you do that every match, the key shot and the key rack, you can actually have a run in deep in the tournament. I'm a really slow starter in tournaments. So I do that, you know. But that's probably. I've always been a good potter. I've always been a big breaker, but that only gets you so far. Everybody can clear the table. Everybody can pop balls.
It's doing it when it matters.
It is, yeah. It's having like a bit of bottle and a bit of composure when it really, really matters. And I was pretty rubbish at that when I first started playing. I'm definitely getting better the older I get, which I suppose it's one of the few sports where you can actually do that. Maybe that in golf, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, just a cool head under pressure, being able to actually mind your work, get your ducks in a row before you pull the trigger.
Yeah, proper routine, pre-shot, and just being more mindful, like you say, of them bigger shots and making sure that them bigger shots are the ones that you focus on and count on. And you said about like a 30-second thing. I mean, there's a technique that snipers do. I can't remember what it was. I read about it the other day actually, but they do some sort of four-step technique or something to reset the mind when they're ready to make that big shot. And I can't remember what it was now. You could look it up on the internet, but it's a similar thing.
We have an in joke. We have many jokes. Most of them are not broadcastable. We have an in. I'll watch him or he watches me, and he throws a quick one in. Or I do.
What are you going on about here? This sounds a bit.
Behave yourself, Matt. If Phil throws a quick one in, or I do, he will look at me, or I will look at him and do this.
I'm here. They're on pause. Stop. Can you say that again, Adam? You said if you threw a quick one, you totally paused.
So if he throws a quick one in, right? I'll look at him and I'll go, oh. And that's the long drive home.
So, quality.
We've done like maybe a 350-mile round trip, and then you get the money ball or the key shot, and you toss your cue at it.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Don't even get in the car. Just go and play with the kids. Have a family day instead. Do you know what I mean? I do it more than him.
Yeah.
He does a lot.
I'm constantly.
It's good way of looking at it. I mean, when you're saying you watch each other's game and you do this and you do that. I mean, I've said things like with Gareth where he played Shane in Lugo. And that first rack, he missed an 8-ball down the rail to take the rack out pretty much. And I watched him, I shown you, I played it back. I says, look, you've decelerated on that shot. And that's why you missed it. Probably because it was a bit of
Buffalo
pressure.
status,
a bit of nerves,
mate.
you Buffalo arm more like. But you just decelerate. But it's great to be able to watch other players and to give them little bits of it. Now, some people are like you doing that. Some people hate it, but the people that take it on board and use it, are they going to be the ones that are going to obviously develop the game further? And American pool, and I said this with Imran when we were talking to him, it's a great sport to play in because people will help each other out. I mean, if you want some advice, if you're a new player, Gareth's dropped off there. He'll be back in a minute. He must have shied away. His connection's playing. Oh, he's back here. But it's a great sport because you've got that help if you need it. I mean, a new player, if someone come up to me and said, "Oh, well, I don't know,"
it's what you get living in with the cows and the sheeps.
Yeah, I know. I was just saying you dropped out, but it's a brilliant game. People help each other out, and everybody just gets along generally. I mean, like I say, I played a lot of other sports, and you get a bit of needle here and there, and there's clickiness and all that. You don't tend to get that so much in the UK and American pool, and that's one of the really good things about it. Brilliant.
I think it's one of the only sports where you can actually play with the top players in the world. You can't just rock up at a golf course and play with Tiger and Rory.
No.
Or you can't go and have a kickabout with Ronaldo and Messi, But you can genuinely I mean, prime example, Gareth played Shane, arguably the best player in the world, 3 weeks ago, you know. So, and obviously Shane's saying that over in the States now.
Yeah. I mean,
no, you're right, Phil. You're right with that, because, like I say, it's very, like I say, unfortunately, I played Skylar Woodward a couple of weeks before that in the UK. You know, so but just going on now, we're talking about that subject. What's your plans, boys, moving forward in regards to these matchroom events, or even the Euro tours? Do they not either or? Do they not get your arousal again, guys?
So the Euro tours, I think. I mean, they're really well organised, and 10, 15 years ago, that was the place to be, wasn't it? Now it's like the ugly sister, isn't it? It's all match room. If you care about the game and you want to play the game in its purest form, for me, a 4-inch pocket on a slick cloth in great playing conditions with the world's best players in an arena, live on Sky, and you can pay you in an open. I mean, you know, or you go to wherever in Europe, you play the stalwarts of the European Tour on 4.75-inch bags or whatever it is. Have 3 or 4, 5 days in a hotel. There's no comparison for me. I was lucky enough to get an invite to the World Championship. Was it 2 years ago, I think? Which for me was just, you know, as an American pool player, died and gone to heaven. And the way they do it is just a different level. It's a completely different level. Unless you literally had pots full of money and you're going to play in every competition known to man, if you do have an allocation of funds and time off work and all that sort of stuff, you would put your money towards a matchroom event. Personally, I think it is the best. It's as simple as that, you know. It's good prize money. It's not, you know, retire, you know, bonkers money, but it's good. If you play well and you get like a 30, 64, 32, 16 roll, you're into a couple of grand and 2 or 4 grand last 16, maybe 4 grand. Which for me, that would be my goal, you know. I think the last 16 is realistic for someone like yourself. Phil's probably got higher aspirations than that, but tough school. You've got 250 guys, of which in an open event, I think 150, 200 of them can play. 100 of them can really play. 50 of them can really, really play. And 20 of them are just absolute monsters. So you need a bit of help with the draw, but it's doable. It's doable. You know, I haven't punched my weight yet in a matchroom event, but I think to answer your question, Gareth, next year I'd like to think I'd get at least 3 or 4 in. You know, European, UK, maybe one other as well. The Dutch one's going to come up as well. A good friend of mine who's sort of mine and Phil's surrogate manager, Graham Hickman. He's a great lad. He lived in Holland for 10 years. He's very, very close to the guys in Holland, and they're all buzzing for a matchroom event in Holland, you know. And that'll be
that'd be good, wouldn't it?
That'd be great. That would.
For travel and stuff. It's a piece of cake to get over there. Just an hour in the plane.
Yeah. Yeah, nice. Oh, superb. And what about yourself? What about yourself, Phil? Like, how's that? I know, like, just you just got beat in the final in Scotland. How's that inspired you on with these events? Obviously, you both are going to do it together, from what Adam's just said. But how's that flip the switch on for you, mate?
I think that's the main thing with me is I haven't played any of the big matchroom events, the UK Open, Worlds, and like that, purely based on I haven't got the confidence to go in there and really feel like I can win an event, purely based on not being able to play. I haven't got the time or the facilities to actually put the practice in to then go, do you know what, I'm sharp enough to go, and if I play Joshua Filler, I'm second favourite, but do you know what, it's a race to 9. It's not a race to 100 or a race to 50. It's a race to 9. Pretty much anyone can win it. Anyone can beat anyone. But I haven't got that. I mean, I've had a lot of success up in Scotland, and the matchroom event was probably the event where I thought, obviously, I beat Al-Kadi in the earlier rounds. He's come back, beat me in the final. And
I've got the video of that as well now, Phil. You just carry on. I'll get it up while you're talking there. I mean,
what's the
yeah.
shot?
So this was that shot, of course. Yeah, I mean, dramatic last rack. Whether it'll play very well or not, we'll see in a minute. But yeah, look at that.
Oh no! Do you know that's the first time I've seen that?
That is just
not the first time I've seen it.
Are you
unbelievable. Yeah, I'll play it again. Look, just. I mean, look at that. But that is a perfect example of pressure or things that can happen.
Pressure.
The easiest shot in the world like that, and he's
that's
just
on the 4-inch bags. That's on the match room setup, 4-inch pockets, obviously new cloth, and that's what you can do. 7-7, rest to ace.
That shot there. That shot
off
there.
the back of that. I mean, you've got this was the other shot as well, of course, in that.
I think you should do a little meme with Batman running out, shaking his hand.
Well, yeah, but on the same note, look at this for a shot there. If you want to jump, look at this. What a jump shot! I mean, just once more there, just for the
standard.
Yeah, he looked like he's playing safe to me. He looks like he's trying to get the ball going around the angles.
That is just what jump cue is that, Phil? That you got?
It's an OB lift.
OB.
I've had it for years. I'm actually sponsored by Jacoby. I'm sponsored by Jacoby, so my break cue and playing cue.
I think someone was celebrating that jump shot as well. Actually, look off the bat.
But Adam, you got to give him 10 out of 10 for that, Adam.
Yeah, okay.
Also, little story. So when we went to the Spanish Euro Tour, Gareth, a few years ago now, we actually went into Antonio Banderas' bar.
Oh wow!
Oh really?
It's on the marina.
Oh, there you
that's
go.
Was that
you want
that's how I met Adam.
Wow, there you go.
Was Adam in there? Was he signing?
There was something going on here.
Signing autographs.
Doing a book signing.
Usual lads.
So yeah, like I said, I think when we're talking about the schedule and stuff, I'm going to play as much as I can, and once I get the room set up and I'm able to just pop out and do 20 minutes, half an hour, just to keep my. I won't be doing 5 hours. I'm not that sort of person anyway. Like Matt said earlier, I'm a bit of a bored person. I get bored, but once I put the kids down to bed, I can go and I can do half an hour. I'll have a full day at work. I'll get at 6 o'clock. I'll put the kids to bed and I can have a half an hour or an hour, put a bit of music on, and it'll just chill me out. And obviously it'll keep me in stroke. So then when I go to the first round of an event and I play a good player, I'm all right with it. At the moment, I sort of use my first couple of rounds to reacquaint myself and go, yeah, that's the EQ. That's where that goes, and that's. But if I was to go into somebody really good to start with, I'm a bit rusty. But that's just through lack of playing.
Are you going to be doing drills then, Phil, on that table, or are you just going to get half an hour hitting the balls around?
I'll probably just knock the balls about, to be honest. I'm not really a drills sort of person. I quite like playing straight ball on my own. I don't mind doing that. Try to get a run. Because then you can sort of gauge yourself. If you get a run on something like Adam's table, you got a run of, like, I mean, if you could get into the sort of high 80s, you're doing well, like, you really are. Even, honestly, I think if you could do a ton on Adam's table, you got my respect, like, such tough. So that sort of equipment, that you can really gauge yourself.
It's the same as a guy going, I've had a century break, where if you've had a century break on a star table, it carries a lot more weight.
Than just a club table.
Local social club. Do you know what I mean? If a guy if you can have a genuine century break on a star table, you have to be able to hit the ball correctly. You can't fudge that. You've got to get it correctly. That's the same.
Have you had any straight ball runs, Adam? Do you bother with that yourself or not?
Well, I had a little bit back when Phil first came around. We had a bit bash.
It's because he can't get past 15.
You know what? He's taking the piss, but he's really close. It's about 7. No, you get like 3. You clear like 3 tables in a row, and you're going, wow, this is. You're on 45 balls. I can't really get past that for you. And the reason is, I know I keep saying this because we talk quite often. straight pool is about taking awkward shots down the long rail in the yellow and green pocket. It's just not an option. So that table is not built for straight pool. Believe me.
Yeah. Adam says a lot of. I'm sick of this.
Yeah, I'm not kidding you, right? I get something put on the wall up there, which everybody says when they play here, or I say when they miss a ball, and they're on the way around the table to play the next ball, but the ball they missed hung, but they haven't realised, and it's on any other table. That's all you hear in this room, on any other table.
Well, do you know, I said to Darren Appleton last week that at some point this year I'm going to come up and do him on his table.
I heard you.
The challenge has gone out. Would you accept that? I'll come and beat you on your table, and we record it.
You're more than welcome.
You better get the covers and the doofus sorted. It'll take a while. You'll have to get the spare room set up for Gareth. He'd be there a long time trying to beat you on that.
Yeah, I'll probably be down there for a while. I know, yeah. Be like the Go Lightly's from Jeremy Beadle.
As well, try and stay fully clothed while we're playing, unlike tonight.
Yeah, that's right, mate, yeah.
I know.
Adam, just moving on to
if you're ever up near the woods, please come round. You'd love it, like.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah.
Oh, mate, I'd love to come and show you how to play on that table, mate.
Yeah, Adam. Just moving on to what Phil was saying
a brilliant
about
table,
practicing and like he's not having the confidence to compete with the best players. That doesn't count for you, Adam, does it? Because you literally are ready for these players. I know I said to you earlier on that I think you're a phenomenal player, and you're someone that, believe it or not, I don't make it obvious, but I quite often have got my eyes on what you're doing. I specifically like the power of your break and the way that these long pots are effortless. You know, so I can certainly say that I can get something out of watching your game. So again, I know you've got no fear of anybody. So where do you stand with that, Adam?
I appreciate your comments, Gareth. It's just confidence off the table. I've always been a decent player, but the gap between decent, it's a bit like, for a golf analogy, to be a 5 or 6 handicapper in golf, believe it or not, isn't that hard. But to be a scratch golfer is really, really difficult. And it's not that much different. It's only a little gap, but actually it's a big leap in quality. I don't know. I love the game. I always give it 100%. Helps having people like him around us, who knows the game backwards. For someone who's 15 years younger than me, he knows so much about the game. It's untrue. But we bounce a lot off each other. So, it's sort of like, it works for me. Speak to Phil a lot. I don't know. I find the game easy, but it's took us a long time for the penny to drop of how to play the game correctly to actually win. I used to play really well and get turned over a lot. People who I thought weren't as good as me, and that really got under my skin quite a bit. But I didn't know how to rectify it. And after playing for years with him, obviously he's a serial winner. I'm not. He wins for fun, or did win for fun, or still does. There's an art to getting over.
That Scottish tour has got some serious players on it, Adam.
Do you know what? If you want to be cynical about it, you could say, well, oh yeah, you're up Scotland, it's low hanging fruit or whatever.
It's not.
You've got Elliot Sanderson, you've got Fraser Patrick, you've got people like Stevie Capaldi's a good player. You've got people
Michael
like Gary Thompson, ex-professional snooker player. You've got Michael Rhodes, probably one of the best QSs you'll ever see at any discipline. You've got Cowie. Who else you got, Phil? You got obviously Phil himself.
Yeah.
There's like a 7 or 8.
The list goes on.
There's actually 7 or 8.
Yeah, it does go on.
So in Glasgow, you've got like Doward's great player. Robert Stephen, English 8-ball player. He's a handful.
Scott Gillespie's
a good player. Young up-and-coming players like Matt Wrigley. He's getting better by the tournament, really. He's a good little player.
Yeah, and even the owner of McGoldrick's ain't too bad, is he?
Paul Corrigan, yeah.
I
think he...
last 8 of the...
Sponsors Elliot. I think he went further than Elliot in the last event. It was like fucking crazy.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
It was like ridiculous, really. I mean, Paul had a great tournament. He ended up knocking out
Barham, Lofty, wasn't it?
Yeah. Quite funny, actually. Barham obviously brought his new girlfriend to come and show her how good he is at pool. He went 2-0. I think I went to a friendly at Ibrox and just went home. Wasn't a good move, like. Especially when you go there to show your wife how good you are, and then the guy who runs the pool club, who's not really there to compete, turns you over. It's not a good look. Not a good
look.
Like
a Buffalo comes into mind.
Yeah. And I know it was his new girlfriend because Mickey Krause, he actually introduced Mickey to his new girlfriend. And obviously him and Mickey are both from Denmark and they're really close. So it must have been his new bird. You know?
Right, gotcha.
But yeah. I mean, Scotland's, for me and him, it's like it's 2.5 hours away. But it's like the staff of the people, they are full, aren't they? The class.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a good setting. They're a nice club.
Well, they've obviously one of the unique clubs in the UK where they've got a house professional. And Elliot's obviously based there. So Elliot's given them a lot of pointers. He's flogged them a lot of cues, got them all kitted out and stuff. So by doing that, they're all dialed into 9-ball American pool, even though it's quite heavy on 8-ball as well, English pool.
Yeah.
There's a really good, I'd say 20, 30 guys are in there all the time playing American pool. Mostly rotation. But it's good. It's good. It's really, really good.
Yeah, super duper. That's what I say. I was up there at the McGoldricks, and first time I'd experienced it, I thought it was an absolutely fantastic club.
Good club.
You know, it certainly competes with some of them European clubs, doesn't it, Phil?
You know,
100%.
They don't pull your eyes out for the food and stuff like that as well.
No.
You pay like
they're
pretty fair like that as well. 4, 5, 6 quid. You get fed and stuff, and it's pretty good like that, you know.
When is the next big
event?
I couldn't
believe it when I went to. Sorry, Matt.
When is the next big event up there? I think it's fairly imminent, isn't it?
Me and Phil are there in 3 weeks.
Final Rasson event, and then there's
the following week we're playing the Scottish Championships in Edinburgh in the Wallace Quinn Tour.
In November.
Solihull's in there somewhere, but I'm not quite sure if we're going to make that one. I'm not quite sure.
And then there's November's the Coors Open, which I won last year. I'll beat Mel in the final.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I'm actually playing in the Euro Tour, so I'm not going to enter that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just like the setup. Like I just like to play on good equipment. Do you know what I mean? I'm not in it for the dough or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? I just like to play on the good equipment. So Scotty, when I saw the McGoldricks one come up in November, straight away I thought I'll go to that, but it's just sod's law. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, is it? I don't think you should play the Euro Tour, Gareth. I think you should come to Glasgow. I do.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but I tell you what, I just like the setup. You know what I mean? For me, at my age, you know what I mean? It's like it's go and have a little holiday while I'm out there. Do you know what I mean? And just go and chill out, and you know, I just like the environment. 4 or 5 days of doing nothing. You know what I mean? That's how I used to smoke weed and everything. So on my travels, them days are long gone now. Do you know what I mean? And now it's about sightseeing and getting pissed.
What a lovely,
you know. Yeah, they're the good old days. But like I say, my story's a bit like yours. I left the scene for quite a few years. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't even dive in to have a look, Phil. You said you was off for like 5 years. I was gone for like 10, 12 years. I just, you know, I think the last time I saw you, Phil, was in Las Vegas. We bumped into each other. I don't know, it was like a 10-ball event. That must have been about 2011, something like that. And after that, I just put my cues down for bollocks to this. Yeah, it must have been, you know. That's where we're at, you know. And
what are you going to do?
So what about you?
What are you going to do next year, Gareth, in terms of the matchroom event?
Yeah, well, I'll play on them, but what I certainly won't do if they're doing qualifiers in clubs, then forget it. I'm not wasting my time with that. You know, if I can buy my way in like they have been, you know, and if I can get in with all these other donkeys that are getting in there, you know, then I'm happy to give it a go. You know what I mean? But certainly not to go into like clubs and qualify. Them days are long gone.
Yeah.
So, and I'll play on all of them. And if it come down to a decision to, well, you can only play on one or the other, then I'll openly tell you I'll just choose the European, the EPBF, because I'm set up for that equipment and I can play on it because that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing, though, you said about the EBPF there. It's kind of like the North-South divide. You've got Matchroom on one hand trying to do their thing. EBPF are obviously doing their thing at the moment. And it's a bit of a heated subject at the moment. I mean, there's a little bit of animosity going around here and there. I mean, what's your take on that? Have you got any opinion yourselves, Phil or Adam, on that? I mean, either or, could you take them or leave them? I mean, I don't know. It's
I think
a lot.
the
It's
big
tricky.
thing with the Euro Tour for me is, again, I might be out of turn because I haven't been to a Euro Tour for a long time, but when I feel like it hasn't evolved. I feel like the prize money is still the same. The equipment's still the same. And don't get me wrong, the setups are great. Like they are. I feel like Matchroom are trying to progress the game forwards, whereas EPBF have they've just been what they are, and they are what they are. And don't get me wrong, they're a good setup, but that's that. Whereas Matchroom, they listen to the players, they listen to the fans. They're trying to make the sport a sport, not just a game. That's the big thing I see.
So if you to back up what you're saying, you go from the format in Euro Tour, which it's very interesting what Gareth said there. His game's set up for that. So obviously everyone has a way of playing, and there are certain equipment suits better for most people than others. But the 9-ball tour, the Matchroom tour, the 4-inch pocket with a box break, which is very tough. Just when you think you've got a crack, you can't make a ball. Very tough break. A 4-inch pocket with a box break and winner breaks. That's a tough format. You've got to bring your best stuff if you want to progress and go deep. You can't fudge that. You can't. There's no way you can actually just wander through the rounds not with your best stuff. You've actually got to arrive and play well from the first gun because of the 4-inch bags. You know, you've got to be on it, and I like that. You got to be dialed in on the first ball. Where some tournaments you turn up, you're a little bit ropey to start with, and you sort of know that you'll stumble through the first couple of rounds. Matchroom doesn't do that. The equipment in the field doesn't let you do that, and I like about it. It's tough, but it's that's for me is the real game now. You know, hitting balls. I know that the versatility in like the expansive game is 4.5-inch bag, fat them in, change the angle, work the cue ball. I love all that. But going forward, like Phil says, the new game is 4-inch bag, winner breaks, box break.
I think again to have like a golf analogy, it's all this new technology in the game, and like the cues and carbon shafts and tips and everything. The technology in the game is coming on. So in golf, for example, the bringing a driver out goes 20 yards further. They just put the tees back 20 yards, or they'll put the pins in harder positions. On a pool table, you got 9 foot by 4.5 foot table. There's not much you can do with that. So because the game has evolved, and it's a bit of a weird one because in the UK, I feel like the game's actually went backwards a little bit with standard and the players and the people that we actually have out there. But as a whole, the standard has gone up, and that's through technology. And I mean, the carbon shafts, they're a massive thing now. Personally, don't like them. I've tried them, trying to get on with them, but loads of people love them, and I can see why people love them. They just don't suit me. So I feel like the technology in the game's going forwards. So then they have to standardise the game, and which is what Emily's doing with Matchroom, is they're trying to make a game that when, for example, tennis, you look at tennis, if you flick the tennis on, you know what's going on. You know the rules. You know where they serve from. You know that the switcher ends. You know what the points are. So if someone's on 15, someone's on 30, you know where you're at because you've watched tennis long enough, and you know that the game's been around for long enough. With pool, there was too many variables. There was too many the pocket size, the balls, the game, 10-ball, 9-ball. Your break rules, your points rules on the break. You had so many different variables constantly that actually now they're just trying to go. So when like any Tom, Dick and Harry puts the TV on and they see 9-ball, they'll go, oh, it's 9-ball. The box, the break from the box. And it's suddenly now just a standard game. So do
you think there's an argument for call shots and jump and getting rid of the jump cue? Do you think there's an argument there for that?
Personally, no. Just because I'm really good jumping.
To you, Adam.
Yes.
No.
Do you think there's an argument for the jump cue to be taken out and the call shot on the 9-ball?
Yes.
No. The reason why I don't is because it's a skill. So you've always been able to use a jump cue forever.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I put a lot of time at jump the ball and working out how to do it and what I can do with it, and now I'm just really good at it. So it's a skill that I've honed and I've worked on.
Yeah, fair enough.
So now you try and take that away from me. Efren did loads of kicking and all the top kickers in the world. So why would you then go, well, no, take that away from them? They're not allowed to kick, you know.
The call shot, you have to leave call shot to 10 ball. It's part of the game.
Yeah.
It's brutal, but it's part of the game.
And again, that's the thing. It's drama, especially with the flukes and stuff. That's all drama. Obviously, I've been on the back of it in the recent event with darkSIDE. But do you know what? It is what it is. All the fans absolutely loved it. There was a few people watching the final, and do you know what? It was a lot of drama, and people still talk about it now. So every time I look at Scotland, people are still talking about it. So
yeah,
and sometimes it goes for you, and sometimes it goes against you. You know,
I've had plenty of flukes that I've won matches with.
Yeah, of course, we've all had it.
Yeah, take the rough for the smooth. But and then the jump cue is quite it's part of the game, and it's part of like it is one of them shots that you don't see in snooker or you don't see in English pool. So it's just a nuance of our game, which is part of it. I think. In my head.
I would keep a jump cue. I would. On a serious note, I would. It is a skill, to be fair. I'm pretty good at jump safes, but I can't pot a ball.
Not on that table, by the sounds of it.
Phil was meant.
Not on that table, by the sounds
on your table, jumping a ball to pot them on that's impossible, probably, isn't it? But Phil mentioned about the shafts and the technology there. Do you use a carbon shaft, Adam, or not? I think you've tried one, haven't you? I'm sure I've seen you use one before.
It's so for me, the the yellow offer spot with a cue ball and the blue spot, but a little bit to the left, so you try to swing it 3 rails, but hit it gentle, and you obviously try to turn the cue ball and throw it in. For me, I can't trust it. I just can't trust it.
Is that just because it feels so stiff or something?
It just doesn't deflect, so I always get thick and let it wander to the potting angle. It just doesn't wander. So I hit thick, and it immediately turned us off. Maple's fine. It'll be fine. It was fine 20 years ago. It'll be fine in 20 years' time. I think carbon. If you're a snooker player, I think it would actually work for you. But if you've only been playing American pool for a long time, like yourself, it's not really for me. Not for me.
I've not gone for one.
It looks sexy. Honestly, I mean, they're beautiful to hold, but for me, it's if I'm under the gun and I've got a 3 delicate one, I can't trust it. Don't get me wrong, absolutely poker straight, and I want to put some action on the ball. It's fantastic, but it doesn't work for all the shots for me. Not for me.
Do like Lewis Capaldi does and just switch.
Stevie Capaldi.
Lewis Capaldi, sorry.
Lewis Capaldi.
Well, guys, I mean, it's getting on. I mean, we've had over an hour here. We'll probably wrap it up, but I just want to ask you guys a couple of questions each. I mean, we've mentioned about people helping each other in pool and everything else, and it's a known thing that happens. But if you were to give a good tip for an upcoming player, they want to improve their game, what would you say each? We'll just end it on that, guys, because it's, like I say, it's getting on a bit. But what would you say? I mean, we'll go Phil with you first. I mean, if someone come up to you, it's Phil Burford, great player, won loads of stuff. I'm a new player. I've got a cue out of JD Sports or something, but what? How can I help? What can I do to? I can pop balls. What would you say to him? Like, give him a tip or something.
Go and get the dark side corner going, Phil.
I would. I think my biggest strength would be under the pressure. I get out when it's really tough to. I think so. For me, when I'm in that situation, I always just think I'd rather miss the 1. Sorry, I'd rather miss the 2 than miss the 1. So when I put the 1, I then go, I'd rather miss the 3 than miss the 2. And this is the way that my mind works. So all I'm thinking is the shot that I'm on, basically just make that. And almost, if I have to take my medicine a little bit, but I'd rather miss the 5 than miss the 4. And then by the time I've then sort of made my way through, I'd rather miss the 9 than
what
miss
do you
the
say
8.
what do you say when you're on the 9 ball?
Go doggy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like shit.
I'd just rather not miss any of them, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. But I mean,
no, that's a good way. It's a good way of thinking, though. So
yeah,
it's
it's
quite a unique way
I've
of
always
thinking,
done that. I've always done that because then, especially if you've got a couple of big shots, if you've got a tough one ball straight away, well, I'd rather miss the two than miss the one. So make sure bear down the one and get the one in, and then now present with the two. And it's almost like it's now a new table. It's like you come back to the table. So then I'd rather miss the three than miss the two. So just make sure I make that two, and then this is sort of the way I always think, especially when I'm under like immense pressure, and it just sort of settles me to go okay. And before I know it, I've got my way through, and I'm on. But, yeah,
no, it's
one of the ways I've
interesting
done it.
little strategy there.
it's a
I
good
mean,
way
I
to
wonder
look
if
at
I
it,
might try to think about that next time I'm playing.
Big secret.
I'll see what happens. Maybe I might try that myself.
that's
I mean,
right.
Adam,
And
have you got anything?
The other thing
Go on,
is,
Phil. Go on. Phil's got something.
Yeah.
Adam, I mean, what would you say? I mean, have you got any little words of wisdom for somebody maybe that could benefit to improve?
I love Adam's glass. It's like never ending. It's superb, isn't it?
Someone's filling it up. Pour him down there off camera.
I would say before you can pot balls and enjoy the game, but if you want to actually improve as a pool player, an American pool player, you've got to understand how the cue ball rotation on its journey affects the object ball. But until you do that, you can't really progress and become better. So I would say to a player who's just started, forget like potting 10 balls in a row. Just pot a ball into the pocket from a certain angle, 5 or 6 different ways. So pot a plain ball, pot it with side, pot it with extreme side, pot it with bottom side, top check, bottom check. And you've got like 6 or 7 different outcomes by potting the same ball from the same position. So if you can master one shot by potting it 6 or 7 different ways, you've suddenly got like an arsenal of 500 shots in a match. But that takes time, it takes dedication. Depends on how far that person wants to go.
Can you put it 6 or 7 different ways on your table?
You can.
With them pockets.
Yeah. You'll have to sit down.
5 of them don't go in.
No, you can't. It's understanding the rotation of the cue ball.
Yeah.
You know.
No, that's good.
Off, fully loaded or hard with nothing on it is just it's a spec. The chasm of difference is just unbelievable. That's what I would say. Understand how the cue ball works.
Yeah, I mean it's.
But to do that though, you need someone to show you really, because to actually work through that is pretty tricky. All you do is you see white object ball pocket, you put the ball, great, fantastic, but you don't really understand what's actually happened to make it happen. That'll be my advice.
No, that's good. I think a lot of people that come into the game, generally they've probably come off the back of playing something else, whether it's English pool or snooker, and they do get caught out. I mean, it happened to one of my friends recently. He's not played 9-ball that much, and he's come on the table. He's a good player, English pool player, and he's potting balls, and he's just wow. I mean, I ain't got a clue where this white ball's going or anything off the cushions, and that's what catches people out because they're so used to how it reacts on a snooker table or an English pool table, and you come on, and it's just completely different. So you've got to take the time to learn it, as you were just saying there.
Yeah, it's a good. The reason we all sat chatting now is because we all love the game. It's a fantastic game to play. It really, really is. It gets its critics at times because obviously the generous equipment back in Mosconi Cups 5-6 years ago, balls hitting the middle diamond going in, and everyone's going, "Oh my god!" I think match that now. For me now, you've got the real game.
Yeah.
Gareth obviously will play Euro Tour and enjoy it, but for me personally, 4-inch pocket, winner breaks, box break. That to me is the best. For me, the best player should win the tournament, give or take. Best player.
Yeah, and generally that's what we're seeing happen, of course.
Yeah, you would get less weird results, because it's really, really tough. But it's a challenge, and we all love that, obviously.
The Scottish, the McGoldricks are 4-inch pockets, weren't they?
One table. Yeah. The table that I missed the 8-ball on was the 4-inch pocket table.
Right. Okay. Right.
Played on it once, which was against Fraser Patrick. But when Phil played his final, because it was the 4-inch pocket table, the stream table, when Al-Kaidi missed the 8 and he obviously fluked it, it hit the rail first. Any other table, you know, it's, because it hit the rail first, we all went, oh, you know, and it limped in.
Yeah.
But that's a, and they've got a deep shelf as well, so you've got a deep shelf and a 4-inch bag. That's I have to say, the Rasson in the goal rigs, the 4-inch Rasson, is beautiful to play on. Really good. Really good. If you get dialed in on, you can play anywhere.
Right.
Not here, pretty much anywhere.
Well, guys, I mean, look, it's been great having you on. It's been brilliant catching up. Thanks for those little bits of wisdom there for the players as well. But unless you got anything else to add there, Gareth, I mean, I'm happy to call it a night on this one. Unless you got anything else.
You know what? No, absolutely. I'm just glad that these guys have come on here and graced the presence of darkSIDepool. You know, we're trying to do something here and just trying to promote the game in the UK. We've got a hell of a lot of critics, guys, I'll tell you that, and people backstab us behind our back, but we're trying to do our best, I'll tell you that for sure. So I really, really thanks for coming on here tonight and sharing some stories with us. I think the Antonio Banderas story, you know, is superb. You know, I mean, I've known about that for years, Adam. I've known about it. And it's funny how it's never come up, but do you know what? I'm glad it did tonight.
You're in my crosshairs, Matt. You are.
Hey, I'm not invited anymore to play now then. No, don't worry. No, brilliant guy. No, look, thanks a lot for coming on, and we will definitely catch up again soon.
Okay.
Look forward to seeing you guys soon, mate. So thanks again, boys.
All right.
Been good.